Welcome to Bees Along.
Good day, Beaks. Although I'm going to recommend the Langstroth hives as the easiest one, I'm still going to do a brief on 4 other hives, just so you have some idea of what's out there. Now, if you decide on one of the others, you're going to have to do some more research yourself.
First up is the Waree hive. Similar to the Langstroth, that it's a box hive, but the empty boxes are added to the bottom. The queen then moves down into the bottom box, new comb is built, brood is raised. After the brood in the top box has hatched, the bees clean it all up and then honey is stored there. Of all the hives, this produces the least amount of honey. The boxes are square and the frames are unique to the hive, not interchangeable with any other. The Lyons hive, commercially available, can be much longer than this, trough-like. Note that the frame is twice the depth of a Langstroth one. The brood and honey are kept side by side. Top bar hives. They have a sloping front and backboard, commercially available, but this is a do-it-yourself. Again, the brood and the honey frames are managed all in line. This is the naturally built comb that's hung on the single top bar. Its shape follows the contours of the box. It's quite delicate because it doesn't have a frame around it, so needs to be handled with care. The top bar hives are also prone to cross bracing. The long Langstroth hive. Now this is extreme. There must be 40 odd frames in there. Now they're just ordinary standard frames. You can buy these commercially, but obviously this is a do-it-yourself. Same management, honey and the brood frames all managed in the same trough. This one actually is big enough to house 2 separate nests. Now with all these long hives, the disadvantage is that they're not very transportable and they're pretty expensive. The advantages are you manage them all in the same box. It can be at a comfortable height to work, and of course there is no heavy lifting of boxes. You're only manipulating one frame at a time. My recommendation is the Langstroth. It's transportable, expandable. Manage the brood separately from the honey. It's easier then to control swarming. Its disadvantage is that the boxes can be extremely heavy. You can get round this by using smaller honey boxes. So let's have a look at the parts. Many people use these solid bottom boards, but I don't like them because you can't see the debris from the nest. They're probably more suited to extremely cold locations.
I prefer a mesh bottom board. It has a standard opening with this mesh bottom, and underneath is a galvanized tray which you can fill with a film of oil, vegetable oil, or dimensionous earth. This allows you to manage pests that get into the hive, like small hive beetles. When closed up, there is very little in the way of a draft from the bottom. They don't come with feet. I've put these on myself. They only come with a bar at the bottom. I use 8 frame deep boxes because I find the 10 frame too heavy. If you're a very strong person, you could use them. Note that I glue and pin
a 1.5mm
pop stick to the back of the box. This means that when I put the first frame in, I maintain this
6mm
bee space. With 8 frames in your brood box, make sure that you push them up tight to one end. I put arrows on my frames so that I know when I take one out, it goes back in the same way round. I've also tacked 3 pieces of lollipop stick to this frame, or it could be on this frame, and that's if I use a plastic queen excluder, it prevents it from sagging onto the tops of the frame. That's purely optional. You will have quite a big void at this end, and the bees will tend to build this comb out fat, but you still have enough room to move the frame out and the next frame and be able to lift it out. Sometimes I use a follow board to fill in this void. Notice I have 2 lollipop sticks stapled onto this face edge, so that when it goes in, it seals up that space and I still get the 6mm bee space. With 8 frames in the honey box, you have a couple of options. A lot of people just gap the frames a little more than is normal, trying to get them fairly even. You will then get comb that is fatter at the top than the bottom. But you're not going to be pulling these frames out and putting them back in, so you're not going to do damage. The other option is to pull all the frames up to the end so that it's the correct bee space. You will then get even comb being built. Then you can do the same as in the brood box and use a divider, or sometimes called a follow board, to close up that space. If you're not a very strong person, or you've got a weak back, you can use a shallow super for your honey.
In Australia, there are 5 standard hive body heights. They may not all be available in the rest of the world.
This is a shallow. You get frames to match, and you can again have wax cone or plastic, or leave them open. That will be up to you. Exactly the same again. When you get the 8 in, either space them out or use a divider board. So we have our bottom board. We add our brood box. You'll want an inner cover. Now this one happens to be vented, which I don't usually use, but they were very cheap, so I got a load of them. Because I don't use vents in the top of my hives, I just cover that with a little piece of timber. Now some people are of a different opinion and like to have vents in the top. To complete it for a brood box, I use a telescoping cover. Now that is one that comes down over the edge and makes the top weatherproof. So we have sufficient bees in the brood box, and there's a nectar flow on. It's time to put the super on. If you're using a follow board, take it out. Add your queen excluder. Now this can be either plastic. If it's metal, I prefer stainless steel. So with the super on, again, add your inner cover, and your telescoping top. Depending on how much nectar is coming in, you might decide to add another full box, or you might have, in the first place, only added a small super, but you can add any size box to the top. Then add your inner cover, and your telescoping top. Configuring hives this way is just my choice. It's just the way I do it. Other people will have different methods, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's each to their own.
For future videos and updates, please subscribe, then click the bell.